regression is very painful and growth is painful. You just have to choose the pain that you want to go through. I mean, it's a big expense when it doesn't work. However, we're not cheap, and here's why.
If you lost it all tomorrow, what's the first marketing move you'd make? So welcome back to Life by the Horns, where it is all bull and no bullshit. How you doing today, Dustin? You good?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I can't complain, man. It's been a decent week, man. No, it's been a good week. No, forget that.
Decent doesn't sound
decent. Doesn't sound good at all. No, it's been a good week, actually, man. Yeah, man. So today, something we hear all the time is I don't really need marketing, man. My business runs on word of mouth, and it sounds good, sounds safe, sounds comfortable. But, what happens when the referrals slow down, when a competitor shows up, when the market shifts, right? That's what we want to kind of unpack today. We're going to dig into why marketing isn't optional and why leaving it out could cost you more than you think. So let's dive right in, man. So when a business owner says that, I've got word of mouth, man, I don't need marketing. What's the problem with that mindset, man?
Well, I always think it's funny because first and foremost, if they're talking to me, they signed up for a call.
Right.
So clearly they've identified some sort of problem there. But no, I mean, generally speaking, I think a lot of it comes down to one of two things. Either they're really comfortable, which is fine, in some capacity, but you're only going to stay in that place for so long. In that same vein, they may not understand it very much behind the scenes. So, a lot of times it creates some kind of exposure with lack of knowledge or understanding that they have to, in some cases, blindly trust. And there's a lot of not so great people in the marketing agency space. The other thing, though, that I've noticed in with marketing and with business development in general, that a lot of businesses or a lot of business owners are afraid of what the business will look like operationally at 50% increases, 100% increases, 3x, increases. And so a lot of times they will pump the brakes, so to speak, on investing in marketing or growth because they're not sure they have the operational capacity or bandwidth to perform at a much higher level.
You said they might be afraid about maybe what it looks like at 50% growth. What is that? Like, how does that play out? Like, give me an example of what that means. Like, what are they really afraid of there?
Well, in large part, many are not super great at owning their day, having a strategy, compartmentalizing time, setting boundaries, and those kinds of things. A lot of times, most are very reactionary. They show up to the business on a daily, they know that things have to get done, and they just respond at every beck and call, every email that comes in, every phone call in which they need support. So when they're looking at their business and they're like, God, we're already doing $500,000 a year, I'm already working 80 hours a week. There's no way that if we get to 750 next year or $1 million next year, I'm going to be able to put any more in. And so, and we've said this many times before, but like what got you here won't get you there.
Right.
And a lot of times the thought is, if I grow this thing, I'm going to have to put more time in, which is the wrong thinking.
Right. So what do you think? So it's not not necessary. Well, I guess this kind of goes back to kind of what we were talking about a little bit last week, where there's just that fear of growth, and that kind of leads to the fear of marketing. So it's like, I'm complacent. I'm fine. I'm good. Also, on the other side, some pushback I hear is, and this is crazy to me, but I want you to unpack it a bit. Lamborghini doesn't do any marketing, so, but really Lamborghini doesn't advertise. They still market, but just differently. Can you kind of unpack that? Like, what is your response to that mindset?
Yeah, everyone knows who the fuck Lamborghini is. Nobody knows who you are. Like, right. I mean, there's a big difference. There are these iconic brands that have been doing this for decades, and in some cases over a century with some. So to compare your, small service-based business to Lamborghini, I'm sorry, you're not even in the same ballpark. So, but no, I mean, I think, with some of those comparisons, I think people a lot of times are just looking for a justification for their decision, but a lot of times it goes a couple of layers deeper. It's, they know that if they're going to grow, they are going to have to invest in marketing. Most understand that they need to increase their visibility. That's not the real problem or the root of the hesitation. Again, I think it's other layers beyond that, which goes back to the previous question. A lot of times it's, I'm already so stressed out now. How in the hell am I going to get to the next level? Or we've tried to grow, or 2 years ago we grew 30% and that was a lot. I don't know if I can live through that season again. The downside with that type of thinking is regression is very painful and growth is painful. You just have to choose the pain that you want to go through. One of them, if done well, can reap a fantastic harvest and, help you get towards these, whether they're legacy goals, early retirement goals, investing in other businesses type goals, whatever those things are. The opposite of that, though, when you start going the other direction, what I generally see is business owners start to get very calloused. They start to doubt everything. They start to become glass half full on everything that they see. Oh, that guy just got lucky. I tried that once. So that type of mindset just doesn't really work with this. I think big picture, you just have to choose the pain that you want to go through. And one of the things that I think is really powerful that I've even had to lead into before is, revenue can forgive you of a lot of operational sin.
Sure can.
So if you're like, man, I can't put any more time in, hire somebody. Oh, well, people aren't super great. Well, the people that you're paying minimum wage, or you want to, be a manager for your company and you're paying them $45,000 a year and need them to work 70 hours a week, of course they're not going to be great. Right. But you drive enough revenue in, and then you can entice, the right type of people or personnel or team members to join. Things look a lot different.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, it sounds like it's a mindset thing. It goes back to like that kind of growth mindset. And then there's that safety idea, like referrals feel free. They feel safe, but there's a ceiling, obviously, compared to a real marketing system. So let's talk a little bit about that. Like, where's that ceiling for a guy that's just kind of, hey, I just want referrals. I want to stay safe. Like, where's the ceiling and how does it differ?
There's no scalability. I watched even with my uncle 2 years ago or however long it was been, had a fencing company. Really great craftsmanship. He took what he had learned out in the Midwest where he grew up, and really just focused on quality. Also didn't like price gouging people. Was just a really, good gentleman that wanted to do a great job for people. And, he at one point was like, I really want to grow. And right now it's just mainly, we put out a yard sign, we get referrals and stuff, and I have enough business to keep my one crew busy. And then me from time to time. So then, we got tapped on the shoulder to help them with this. And all of a sudden, when they were used to getting a couple of calls a week at best, he did a couple of estimates. They closed one or two and they kept the thing rolling, when the training wheels came off. And now all of a sudden it was like, okay, we've got 26 estimates coming in a week. They were overrun by it. So, we probably could have been a little bit less aggressive, and he would have leaned into it a little bit more. But there's definitely a ceiling when it comes to referrals. Because in his case, if you're only doing 1 or 2 fences a week, how many referrals can you get every week to keep pushing the thing forward? 1 or 2? If you do a really great job. And most people that are investing in business ownership are doing so with the idea that at some point in time, I'm going to sell this thing or hand it down to one of my children. In both cases, when it comes to, business acquisition, they're at least someone who knows what they're doing is going to want to understand how you get new customers. And if you just say, all we do is we do a great job and we get referrals, that's terrifying. The business could be over tomorrow.
Right.
There's no system for driving in additional revenue and leads, especially when that system's not systemized. Right. When you're just hoping based off of good effort that people say great things and tell their friends and family about you, that's not something that you can lean into. It's not scalable.
Right.
And then same thing, you pass this down to, son, daughter, whatever it may be. Like, hey, great, Dad, how do I grow this thing? Just keep doing a good job. And one day you'll hopefully make as much money as me. Like, come on. That's not painting a picture or a dream. It's just creating some sort of self-employed safety net.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it sucks because it's like, Even just the idea, I think when business owners, I want you to kind of talk to this point. I know when business owners hear marketing, it's almost like they only hear advertising, right? And advertising is great, but talk a little bit about the difference between marketing, having a marketing system versus just running ads.
Well, I mean, ads is just one pillar inside of a marketing system. So yeah, to your point, most think of paid advertising. They don't think of everything else which it entails. And we talk about holistic ecosystems here. And to be fair, what we do isn't even entirely holistic when it goes from, completely top of funnel, unaware, don't know who you are, potentially not even looking for a solution, all those kinds of things, all the way through referrals and retention. That's a holistic approach. We're very holistic in the fact that we focus on a holistic lead generation funnel and how to get people in and through, but then it stops, and that it's really heavily reliant on the business. And we even talked about this week. We see a lot of gaps there still because there's a lot of effort on new customer acquisition. There's very, very poor effort on retention and referrals, which is the other side. And then beyond that, marketing goes into branding, and it goes into a lot of other things. But, go into branding like what your people wear, how they show up, as a selfless servant inside of your business to take care of other people. That's a part of your marketing. The decals, the vehicles that they drive, all of that stuff all kind of folds into this big picture. So yeah, I mean, it's a big umbrella, and there's a lot of components involved with it. But yeah, a lot of times when they're like, oh, I've invested in marketing, generally speaking, they're speaking digital marketing, and they're only speaking maybe one component.
Yeah. Like they paid somebody to run ads one time,
or their cousin to do Facebook posts for 6 months.
Right. It just doesn't work
at
this point. Yeah. And, that's even kind of, since the digital age or whatever, like old school marketing used to be a lot about just guessing, like, hey, Billboard, TV commercial, whatever. Today it's data, right? So how does tracking and all that change the game nowadays?
Well, it gives business owners a true sense. Let me back up. If it's done correctly, it gives them a true sense of, here is what I spent, here were the touch points associated with it, and here's what I should, what I've gotten in return.
Right.
And in large part, all of that is trackable. There's some nuances when it comes to if you're doing paid advertising inside of like Hulu, Disney, radio, those kinds of things. You can get a relative understanding of the size of pool of people that are listening. Those types of things. You could potentially push some sort of coupon code or something, see how it gets used. But we know, that a lot of people hear or see said coupon code, or they don't actually leverage it. So that doesn't give you a real reality. But when it comes to what we do, 100%, I mean, all those efforts can be tracked. Now, there's some loss when it comes to attribution. They may have seen, because we were running an awareness style campaign in Facebook, you as a brand. They went, this is kind of interesting. They clicked on it. They didn't do what you wanted them to do, and then they left. And then future pacing, now they're seeing your retargeting ads. They go click on those ads. Now they're more familiar, but they still decided they wanted to hold tight. And then because they signed up for your newsletter, all of a sudden you sent them an email campaign with 15% off. They then see that. They're super excited. But then they forget, and then later in the day, they're like, hey, you know what? I need to look these guys up real quick. They do a Google search and type in your brand name, and they click on said Google ad, and then they go through there and they check out. And your Google ads get all the credit for everything that happened there. So when it comes to data attribution, I mean, there are some nuances to it, but in large part, you should be able to see that with these channels, this is the traffic that's coming in. This is the money in which we made from this, or the amount of leads in which we made from this. And if you're a lead generation company, you can take this a couple of steps further, tie this tracking into your CRM, make sure that you're inputting the quotes that are going out to these customers. And as you close the jobs, same thing in the CRM, make sure that monetary value is there. And all this information should just kind of mesh together where you can see, hey, yeah, we got, 32 phone calls this month from people that found us organically. And of those 32, we sent out 17 estimates. Of the 17 estimates, we closed 13. The average job was $2,200. And you guys do the math, we made roughly $30,000, from just organic search this month. So, and if you don't know those numbers, it's a shame. And the sad thing is, and you may be about to ask this, but I'm going to just go ahead and take this a step further. The sad thing is when I talk to customers that have no idea, that have invested in marketing, any of that information, they don't know their conversion rates. They don't know their return on ad spend. They don't know how much traffic they're getting per month from each channel. They have no idea what their cost per lead is. When you don't know any of those things, you're blindly investing in marketing and just hoping for the best. And the other sad thing is because we still work with people that, unfortunately don't take, you guys up on having conversations on a regular. And then all of a sudden, on our end, things are looking really well. Traffic's way up organically. Google ads are crushing it. Facebook ads are crushing it. The site's converting really well. And then they're like, hey, I'd like to cancel, or I'd like to cancel this service. And it's like, oh my God, you don't realize what you're doing right now, because they're unwilling to spend 30 minutes a month to understand that investment. And then because something has happened in their business, or they want to invest in X, Y, or Z, this is an expense to them. So they decide to pump the brakes. And when they do, they cut off their lifeline. And then all of a sudden, a couple of weeks, a couple of months later, like, man, this marketing thing really didn't work. It's like, no, you literally cut off the fuel to the vehicle. It's only going to go so far. Right. After that, we see it time and time again. So if you're a business owner, you don't have to understand all the components of marketing. What you do need to understand, though, is how much did I spend and what did that get me? And you have to know those numbers and be able to make sense of them. If your cost to acquire a customer is really close to what that average customer spends and they don't keep coming back, that's a huge problem.
Yeah.
And when you don't know these things, even if you're investing in marketing, it could be a quick ticket down.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? The clarity that you get as a business owner when you're able to see these numbers, right? It doesn't matter what advertising agency you hire, you should always be collecting data, like in learning, right? So it's like this idea of failing forward, even if they suck at driving, at driving clicks, right? At least you know that you can replace that advertising agency, and you can, but I really want to stay here because I want you guys as business owners to understand the numbers that you need to pay attention to. And, so can you just really quickly go through the most important numbers that they need to, like the rates, the things they need to be tracking and your marketing agency should be tracking? You should be able to give them a call right now and get these numbers. So what are the numbers that they need to be paying attention to from an advertising perspective?
So we have an internal sheet that's really important to me, just because it's something from a business owner's perspective that you need to understand. So one of those really big numbers is just cost to acquire a new customer. And so how do you come up with that? It's pretty damn simple. How much are you paying to have, your marketing services managed, whether it be salaries internally, whether it be third-party vendors, whether it be a combination of the two? So that's component number one. Component number two is how much did you spend on ad spend and creatives? So if you had to spend any money on videography, those type of things, that needs to fall in here as well. Then how much do you spend on the actual ads themselves? Right. And then, so we've got to take that number, and then how many leads did we get, or how many people, if you're an e-commerce company, checked out online, and what was the total value of those checkouts? And then do the simple division, and you go, okay, based off of what I know now, and at least the efforts in which we are doing, my average cost to acquire a customer is $75, $150, $300, whatever it may be. Because you've got to have some sort of guidance. Mm-hmm. But then you've got to also understand, when a lot of people talk about return on ad spend. I'd rather talk about return on marketing dollars, because you have to take into account your management fees. Yep. And I see this time and time again, especially with really small businesses. When you sit here and have a conversation, they're like, oh, I only spent $150 on Google ads this month, and I had a $1,500 return. And like, that's a 10X. Like, what did you spend on management fees? Oh, $600. Like, okay, so we 2X'd. And like, that's very different. Mm-hmm. And then when you go, okay, well, if my cost to acquire a customer is not this, it's now this. And then you look at, especially if you're a service-based company, and you look at, hey, in order for us to provide this service, our cost of service is 35, 40, 50%. There's no money left on the table at that point, unless, again, these customers are repeat. But there are a lot of businesses like roofing or countertop restoration or whatever it may be, where normally it's one big ticket And that's it for the next 10, 15, 20 years, if that, because chances are they move, they go somewhere else and you're not there.
Mm-hmm.
So cost to acquire, and then what was my actual return? And then lifetime value of those. Those are super important. The other thing that's really important, which is a tie into those, if you don't want to do, some very simple math, is just how much did I spend and how much did I earn? There's a lot of other metrics and stuff that are out there right now. And I was even in a webinar the other day about this. A lot of times, 10 years ago, and I mean, God, you could go back a year or two ago, this was still super important, but a lot of times the focal point has been traffic, and position rankings inside of SEO. Do these things matter? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But with AI overviews now and people leveraging AI or LLMs to, ask questions and then find things inside of search, we have seen massive reductions in organic search traffic, some industries way more so than others. We've seen click-through rates go way, way down. And now the big play is something that most small businesses have not wanted to invest in previously because it's a little bit more, there's more minutia or it's more gray. But the real play at this point is mindshare. I mean, I just had this conversation with, another business yesterday, and they were like, they were very used to investing in SEO and Google ads. So of course, that's what they're comfortable with. And that's where they want to lean into more. And there's a lot of opportunity for us to elevate them there. But beyond that, I'm like, God, guys, if we're going to do this, we should probably take out some of this budget to make sure that if we've actually had, somebody is cold and they showed up to our site, that we're continuously top of mind. We need to be doing retargeting ads at a minimum to help with some of that. And then once we start generating more leads, we need to start doing some brand awareness ads around what you guys do, because some people don't even know what, at least the company I was talking to yesterday, some people don't even know that what they do is an option as far as a home service. That's a big deal. It means there's a lot of money being left on the table. And when you're talking mindshare, when you're talking impressions and increasing brand awareness, it's a long-term strategy, 100%. It is not something that you start today and within 30 days you see a great impact from. It's something that you invest in today, like a 401k, and it compounds over time. And then all of a sudden, much like I had the conversation with these guys yesterday, I was like, if you and I get in an accident right now, and then I laughed, I'm like, I got in an accident on Friday, and which was super minor, but I'm like, if I got into an accident right now and somebody was critically hurt, what am I going to do? I'm, without even skipping a beat, I'm going to call Morgan and Morgan and Morgan and Morgan and Morgan and Morgan, or the strong arm, John Foy. Like, those are the first two that pop in my head. I'm like, there is a reason that these guys invest so heavily into advertising, because they understand that it is a lifetime that they have to build this know, like, and trust factor with you. And then the second that thing happens, they've trained you. Right. You call me. Mm-hmm. Huge investment, but huge opportunity. But that's also why you see in those types of spaces, and there's so much money to be made, but in those types of spaces, they spend so much money in marketing.
Oh, yeah.
I've watched it with real estate agents that are, you look at most real estate agents don't make it outside of 1 year, let alone even have one transaction get across the finish line. The ones that really do, like Tracy Cousineau that spoke at an event we did a couple of years ago. Last I checked, she had like 34 billboards in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. She's running radio ads, and those are just a couple of things that she's doing. So for so much of what we do, mindshare is super important.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%, man. Everyone knows who Mark Spain is,
Mm-hmm.
And these guys. And the thing is, I think there's such an opportunity for businesses, especially smaller businesses, to lean into that, because most of the competitors are like, we're just going to focus on word of mouth. So I think there are a lot of opportunities for different industries where they can really take advantage of that idea of brand awareness and just that lifetime investment. Like, we just want everybody to know that we're that person in this town. We are the HVAC guy in this town, But when people finally decide to make the decision to do marketing, all right, cool, I'm going to do marketing. What's the number one mistake? Or let's say, I'll give you top three, because I know there are a lot of them. What are the biggest mistakes you see small businesses make when they first start marketing?
Yeah. So one of the biggest ones that I see And it wouldn't even necessarily be first start. I got this email response yesterday from somebody that made me laugh. It said, thank you so much for following up. We've got 2 other agencies that we're interviewing right now so we can compare apples to apples, and then we'll make a decision. Here's what that means in reality. We're trying to see who's the cheapest.
Right.
What made me laugh was this is a high-end home renovation company. They're not the cheapest. But that's the reading between the lines.
Right.
And a lot of times, especially when I get towards the end, like I really enjoy people that have worked with other marketing agencies first because our service level is significantly higher. Our ability, our acumen inside of marketing is significantly more, but beyond that in business, we know significantly more. Right. This is a company founded by business owners first. One of them just happens to love marketing and be obsessed with it. And then we're really good at finding exceptional people that elevate what we do. So for me, like I'm really excited when I find out somebody's worked with somebody else before, where I get a little bit scared, especially if the other person was cheap, is they're like, oh yeah, it was a big investment. And I'm like, yeah, well, I mean, it's a big expense when it doesn't work.
Right.
However, we're not cheap. And here's why. And then it's just like, oh my God, you're twice as much as the other guy. And it's like, okay, but when it works, is it expensive at the end of the day? Well, no. Like we're only upset if it doesn't. And so first one generally is they just assume all marketers are the same. They just assume that, we all went to the same school. And the reality is most marketers, they had 1 or 2 layers of success with themselves. And then they did something for their uncle and they thought they could crush it. They got a nice laptop, an Adobe subscription, maybe Canva if they didn't know how to use Adobe. And then, they're like, I know how to run Google ads. Mm-hmm. Because again, they had 1 or 2 times where they were successful or they watched a 1-hour YouTube video. Now they've got it. That's not a marketing agency.
Right.
That's a hobbyist. And hobbyists can charge less money and they have less skin in the game because their reputation doesn't matter. And they're not going to get you to the next level. And that's okay too, in some cases. But when you're comparing a hobbyist to an actual agency, they're 2 completely different things. And same thing like in any service-based business that you look at, or if you want to talk about, go back to Lamborghinis, there's a difference between a fucking Ford Taurus and a Lamborghini. They both drive forward. They both go in reverse. They have steering wheels. If you're really lucky, the Taurus has leather. Like all that stuff, those components are there. But why do people pay exceptionally more for the Lamborghini? There's a lot of reasons. Mm-hmm. But one, yeah, it's the looks. People are like, oh yeah, that thing's fucking badass. That person must be really great at whatever it is they do. So there's some clout and stuff that comes along with it, but it's the quality. At the end of the day, you're paying for something that is exceptionally high end, exceptional quality. You know that you can rely on it, and you know that it is going to get you from A to B way faster than the Ford Taurus, if that's up your alley. So, same thing when we talk about this all the time with airlines. It's the same thing. Do all these airplanes go up in the sky? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Are they pretty much the same manufacturer and same model? They just have different signage on the outside. The colors are different on the inside. The people are all that's the same. Well, why is one significantly less and one more? Well, one consistently is going to have you late to where you want to go. Your flights are going to be canceled. It seems like it's less on the front end, but there's all these additional fees. The people inside of the plane that are taking care of you, they're not nearly as nice. Like you don't get to pick your seat. You don't get a snack either. And all that stuff starts to go out the window. And then you start going to the higher end, especially when you get into first class. It's like, okay, I get to sit down first. My seat's exceptionally nicer. It's wider. I have more leg room. I know I'm going to get my bag in the overhead, no problem. They're going to serve me whatever the hell I want while I'm sitting here. I'm also going to be first off the plane. Like you eliminate all this friction. And so there's a reason that people pay for that. So first and foremost is pricing. One of the other ones I see a lot though, which can be mildly frustrating, and I know you'll get this, is the business owner that thinks they know more than you. That was a great. It's like, hey, yeah, I really understand SEO, so here's what I did. And the reality is that's cute. Here's the other reality. If our average SEO has a minimum of 10,400 hours of time under their belt before they can even be here. And then they have to go through a master class of what we do. Your Udemy classes that you took and the little bit of success that you had, that's great. It gives us a foundation and a starting point, but we're not at the same level.
No.
And it is not our job to bring you up to speed with, what our team knows. It is our job to give you the result. And so those business owners that want to question everything and then want to understand at the same time and then want to, that's great. But what you're really paying for is a result, not an education. And so we watched this with Google Ads. We've watched this with so many other platforms. They go in and they make adjustments to things inside of a campaign. You're like, what are you doing? Oh, it had a suggestion that I should do not touch it. I mean, I had one years ago. The guy literally went in and we were doing, our bidding strategy was a target ROAS bidding strategy, and search volume was down. So we were starting to bring it down some just because we weren't able to leverage the entire budget. Well, he goes in and he turns the target ROAS to 200%. And then the thing started spending of course, like freaking crazy. His return on ad spend was trash. And then he got mad at us. And I'm like, bro, he's like, these last 3 days have been nuts. And I'm like, yeah, guess what happened 3 days ago? You went in the ad account and you changed the bidding strategy. Well, I thought do not touch it. So those are two of the things that I see very often. The other one is there is generally a bias towards what they know. So if they're familiar with SEO, there's a bias towards wanting to go that route. If they're familiar with Google Ads and they've had success, there's a bias towards going that route. So oftentimes it's very hard to prescribe something that they've either A, had no experience with, or B, a bad experience. And for us, it's about A, understanding the goal first and how we get them there. And then it's what sources or modalities can we use to do that. And for me, it's really challenging when it's like, hey, here's the picture perfect plan on how to double the business in the next 12 to 24 months as far as the strategy is concerned. Yeah, we've tried those two things. We don't want to do those. We just want to focus on this. It's like, okay, so our goal just went out the fucking window. Right. And it's not even me trying to prescribe something so that we make more money. It's so that we can get you to where you want to go. And when they start steering that ship, it's like, why are we even having this phone call right now? That's like me going to the doctor's office and saying, yeah, but I looked on whatever the fuck, WebMD or whatever it is, and it said this, or I asked Alexa, and it's like, yeah, that's great. Do you want to write the prescription for yourself? Because clearly you're not going to listen to me. And so that's what it feels like a lot of times. So yeah, I mean, it's price first. They generally lean towards the thing, or if they know something really well, they want to kind of steer the ship there, or they have biases towards certain modalities that they want to leverage or sources of traffic, and they don't want to touch the other ones.
Yeah. We see all of those a lot. So let me ask you a question for you. Have you ever had one of those mindsets, as a business owner? Have you ever been kind of that guy? And at what point did you learn, if so, at what point did you learn that you had to do things a different way? Were you ever the guy that I kind of steered your vendors in how they should do things because you felt like you knew the thing better than they did?
I don't even know if I would say it's just vendors. I think it's everybody. So yes, I think even, he may have been listening to this at some point, but my coach, Nick from Rise, he'll prescribe a plan for me. And then I'm like, well, and here's the challenge. And then, again, this comes from biases, but also education. I also went to school for that. Mm-hmm. So when we start having conversations about what I'm putting my body, what time I'm putting it in, how much, so on and so forth, naturally, because of past experience, I'm questioning things. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, well, should I really have, cream of rice first thing in the morning with egg whites right before the gym? Because I know for a fact that my body's going to prioritize metabolism first. And then we have this nice dialogue back and forth. And I think there's some benefit from it if you're really willing to listen on both sides and come up with a strategy that makes sense. But if you're just trying to seem smarter and question everything and be a pain in the fucking ass, like you might as well just be doing it for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. If it's about the end goal, like if everybody's coming together, like how do we get to this goal? Let's have a conversation that is different than I just want to be right. I'm just, I'm right. I'm smarter than you. Then there's no reason to have somebody else in the room. Yeah, man. Yeah, we see it quite often. So cool, man. I want to end up here with some, I like this rapid fire thing. So we're going to wrap up with some rapid fire, quick answers, no overthinking. But I'm going to hit you with some. You ready?
Sure.
All right, let's go. Billboard or TikTok ad in 2025?
TikTok.
Sales rep or marketing manager? Only one hire. Which one would you choose?
It depends on the type of business, man. Yeah, it's too open-ended. Now, us marketing all day, but it really depends on the business and where the founder's place is inside of it.
Got you. Okay. Fastest way to waste $1,000 on marketing? Go.
Invest in anybody else would be LG.
Yes, sir. 100 raving fans or 10,000 casual followers?
100 raving fans. Yeah.
One buzzword you would kill forever?
Oh, God. I think you may have stumped me on that one. I don't know. I can't think of a marketing buzzword that I'd like to kill. Do you have one? I'll tell you what I do hate. And I understand the importance of it to some extent, but vanity metrics. I'm so fucking sick of hearing that. Like we've even said it in our own marketing before, but I'm so sick of it because now there are metrics that clearly matter the most. But when it's like, oh, we don't want to talk about impression share, click-through rates, and well, click-through rates have a fucking purpose. Right. They're very important. It lets you know really quick if your ads are doing what they're supposed to do or not. So yeah, what's yours?
Maybe not a buzzword, but a phrase. SEO is dead.
Oh,
I'm so tired of hearing that.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, bro, come on.
The old way of doing SEO is dead.
Correct. But the fundamentals are still there.
Right.
But yeah. All right. One marketing truth most business owners don't want to hear.
It's only an expense if it's not done well.
Good stuff. Brand or performance? Pick one.
Ooh. Short-term performance, long-term brand.
If you lost it all tomorrow, what's the first marketing move you'd make?
Be more specific. Lost all what tomorrow?
If you lost all your customers.
Yeah.
All your customers, what's the first marketing move you make tomorrow?
I do what we're doing now. You just double down on personal brand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool, man. All right. Well, that's it. You're off the hot seat, man. So marketing is not optional. You can't ignore it. Delay it. You can't underfund it.
Let me throw something else in here at the very end that I think is super, super important that we didn't hit on. And I see it all the time. I think I even posted about this yesterday. So one of the things I see more often than not in business is that when revenue stalls, businesses' first thought is generally to cut expenses. Mm-hmm. And one of those highest expenses, again, should be an investment if done well, but one of those the highest expenses they perceive is marketing. And they go, okay, and I'm just going to throw out some silly math, but hey, we're doing $50,000 a month. Mm-hmm. We're barely breaking even. We've got to trim the fat. Now, let me say this. I even do this in my own like exercise regimen. It's not where can I cut back more in calories. It's where can I, because I need to feed myself for fucking performance, just like you need to invest in marketing for performance. Mm-hmm. It's what can I do from an output perspective to continue to get the result that I want. And for most small businesses, so in exercise, it's increasing the intensity or longer duration. They're inversely proportionate. Mm-hmm. In marketing and sales, same thing. What can we do to increase our touch points to get us where we want to go? Because if we try to save our way to salvation, we'll never get there. Right. We just won't as a business. So what happens is that $50,000 business goes, hey, I'm going to cut off my marketing right now, and that's going to save me let's say $2,500 a month. And so they cut that off and their ad spend, et cetera. And they're like, okay, we're saving $5,000-6,000 a month. This is great. We should be fine moving forward, because for whatever reason, they rationalize in their head that when they pause all of this stuff, revenue's going to stay the same. What happens though, especially like, I did this a week ago with a customer, like, oh, in our slower season, we're not sure we can maintain it. And then we showed them what happens in the slower season. In many months, including management fees, we were still 7, 8, 9, 10x return on their marketing spend. If they were to lock that off on a good day, and let's hope they maintain the referrals and repeat customers and all that kind of stuff, all of a sudden you're like, man, I've saved myself $5,000-6,000. You roll into the next month and the following, and your revenue dips to $35,000, $30,000, $25,000. If you were barely making it work with a $5,000-6,000 investment at $50,000 in revenue, that means your overhead is very, very high. The second that revenue dips, even though you think you've saved a little bit of money on the marketing end, when that revenue hits like that, what really ends up happening in business is they go, holy fuck. We either have to sell shit to free up some capital right now. We've got to cut our people's hours. We've got to take away from our own personal salary. And you start making all these sacrifices, and more often than not, when they're about to die of thirst for money, that's when they want to revisit and start digging the well again, and it's too damn late. Mm-hmm. So it is so important to make this thing go full circle. You have to understand your numbers and those marketing dollars and what is being actually driven into the business. And the last thing that you should ever cut, unless it sucks. So if you understand your numbers and you're not making a good return, not just a positive, but a really good return on your marketing dollars, it is the last thing that you should cut.
100%. It's not optional. And you have to know, like, I think people miss like how important it is to know those numbers, because what happens more often than not is because they don't know the numbers. There's so much fear involved. Most people don't even realize. I mean, we talk to people that are like, oh, you can track that? Yes. You can track your add to cart rates. Like, yes,
you can track all of it. I think it's disgusting the amount of people that have been with agencies for years that don't know that stuff. Yeah. They're like, yeah, we're just really having issues with tracking still.
Yeah.
WTF? Like, do you track the output of your people?
Right.
Like, you track all these other things that are an investment. Like, it is super important.
Yeah. And it's like, if you don't know those numbers, it cripples you. Obviously, you're always going to be in a state of fear. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know what's going to happen next month. You got to know your numbers. Knowing your numbers brings so much clarity and peace.
Right.
Because you can make sound decisions. So
we're watching it right now with a new customer. I'm loving it. These guys, were not even a week into everything being live. They've already got new signups. As of yesterday, they had 6 bookings six bookings that happened yesterday for showings next week. And very, very quickly, because they did everything that they were asked to do, they're seeing the lift.
Yep.
And now, they sat inside of a brand new gym facility of all new tech equipment in Las Vegas. It is freaking ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I'll show you the video, but he had showed me a piece of equipment they were using, and he's like, this thing's $10,000. You think we're good? And I laughed, and I know he was joking in some capacity, but when you can consistently know that when we pull this lever, this is what we should assume is going to come in based off of the history that we see, you can make those smart decisions like he's trying to make right now versus the general business owner. And it's like, I have no fucking idea.
Yeah.
Everything feels like a gamble. Every investment you make is like playing craps. You just don't know.
Yeah.
And that's not where you start to operate in this place of scarcity in business, which we see a lot as well. And then all of a sudden, when you're operating in that place and you're highly emotional, you generally don't make good business decisions. So understanding the data, not just marketing data, just business data in general, but understanding these things and knowing that if we do this, we should expect this, it'll help you immensely with making future forecasting decisions and making investments in the business.
Yeah. You guys should be grilling your marketing agencies right now. Seriously, because I think there's a lot of agencies out there that purposely keep business owners in the dark because they're trying to kind of gatekeep the information, because if they had to show the real numbers, the business owner could make the decision to go with someone else.
Right.
Or they just don't know how to track that stuff themselves.
Right.
So yeah, it's extremely important. But yeah, man, not optional, guys. You can't ignore it. And if your agency is not tracking and you don't know these things, then you should probably just reach out to us. Shameless plug there. But yeah, guys, the real choice is this: you build for your future, or you can leave it up to chance. And I would err on the side of not leaving it up to chance. So until next time, guys, like, follow, subscribe, share this with someone, with a business owner that you know. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for listening.